Team ignores Ronaldo. But what's his big trick? That's the question everyone's asking. How does one of the greatest footballers of all time stay calm when the team seems to overlook him? We're talking about Cristiano Ronaldo, a man whose name is carved in football history. Yet even he faces moments when his own team doesn't look his way. Sounds shocking, right? But this is the reality of the game. Football isn't just about skill. It's about dynamics, relationships, and trust. And sometimes, even the best players find themselves standing alone on the pitch, waiting for a pass that never comes. Picture this. The stadium is roaring, thousands of fans chanting, and there's Ronaldo, wide open, perfectly positioned. But the ball? It goes somewhere else. Not once, not twice, but over and over again. The camera zooms in on his face. No shouting, no throwing hands in frustration, just a calm look. That's unusual for most players, because let's be honest, ego runs deep in this game. When you're ignored, it burns. But Ronaldo? He doesn't explode. He doesn't plead. He does something entirely different. Now, you might wonder, why? Would any team ignore a player like Ronaldo? The man has shattered records, lifted trophies, and dominated the game for nearly 2 decades. Yet football is unpredictable. Sometimes the coach wants a different tactic. Sometimes younger players want to prove themselves. And sometimes it's pure miscommunication. Whatever the reason, Ronaldo isn't getting the ball. For most players, this is the breaking point. They'd start yelling, waving arms, demanding respect. But not him. This is where the real story begins. Because what Ronaldo does next, that's his secret. That's the big trick that sets him apart from every other player on that field. And trust me, it's not what you think. You see, most people think greatness is about being in control every second, commanding attention, being the center of the game. But Ronaldo flips that idea on its head. When he's ignored, he uses it. He turns it into fuel. He becomes patient, almost invisible, watching, analyzing, waiting for the exact moment to strike. It's not weakness. It's strategy, and that's what makes him dangerous. The more they ignore him, the more he prepares. Because when the chance comes, he doesn't miss. And when he delivers, the whole stadium remembers his name. This isn't just football. It's psychological warfare. And Ronaldo? He's a master at it. So, why would anyone ignore Cristiano Ronaldo? I mean, we're talking about one of the most iconic names in sports history. The man who has broken records, shattered expectations, and defined an era of football. Yet, here we are, watching him. On the pitch, almost like a ghost, making runs, signaling for the ball, and getting nothing. Silence. Teammates look the other way. The play moves on without him. And the question keeps echoing. What's really going on? To understand this, we need to dive deeper. Because on the surface, it makes no sense. Coaches build entire systems around Ronaldo. Clubs sign him for astronomical sums. Fans fill stadiums just to see him. And yet, in certain moments, the team acts like he's invisible. Could it be ego? Could it be strategy? Or is there something bigger at play? Before we uncover the trick, his secret response to being ignored, let's talk about the psychology of this game. Football isn't just a sport. It's a battlefield of egos. When 11 men step onto the pitch, it's not just about who can run the fastest or strike the hardest. It's about trust. It's about hierarchy. It's about relationships. And sometimes, when a player like Ronaldo walks into a dressing room, everything changes. Think about it. When Cristiano joins a team, he doesn't just join. He dominates. His presence alone demands attention. Cameras follow him. Headlines scream his name. Suddenly, everyone else in that locker room? They're in the background. And that doesn't Sit well with everyone. Some players thrive under pressure, but others feel overshadowed. They start thinking, why should everything revolve around him? This is where tension brews. Younger players, hungry to prove themselves, might hesitate to pass. Not because Ronaldo isn't the best option, but because they want their moment. They want their highlight reel, their viral clip. And let's not forget tactics. Coaches sometimes change the system, pressing high, focusing on speed, quick transitions. They might think Ronaldo doesn't fit into that setup as perfectly as he did 10 years ago, and then there's another layer, the media narrative. Every time Ronaldo doesn't score, headlines pop up. Is he finished? Is age catching up? These stories create pressure not just on Ronaldo, but on his teammates. Passing to him becomes more than just a decision. It becomes a statement. Do we trust him? Can he still deliver? And if a teammate doubts, even for a second, that ball is going somewhere else. Now, imagine being in Ronaldo's boots. You're used to being the focal point, the guy everyone looks for when the game is on the line. Suddenly, you're waving your hand, asking for the ball, and it doesn't come. For most players, this is devastating. Their confidence drops. Their frustration shows. They start yelling, making scenes, losing their cool. And once that happens, it's over. The team sees it. The fans see it. The opponents see it. And the narrative becomes reality. He's frustrated. He's done. But Ronaldo? He doesn't give them that satisfaction. He doesn't crumble under the silence. And this is where the curiosity builds. What does he do instead? Before we answer that, let's rewind for a second. Do you know how hard it is for a superstar to stay calm in that situation? To not scream for attention? It's nearly impossible. These are players who've spent their entire lives being celebrated, being the hero. They're conditioned to be the center of gravity on the field. When that gets taken away, it feels like an attack on their identity. But Ronaldo flips the script. He does something so simple, yet so powerful that it changes the game entirely. He disappears. On purpose. Sounds strange, right? Why would a player like him want to vanish? That's the trick. That's the genius move. Because disappearing isn't weakness. It's a trap. He stops demanding the ball. He stops signaling. He becomes silent. But during that silence, he's observing. He's studying every move, every gap, every weakness in the opponent's defense. While others think he's out of the game, he's planning his kill shot. This isn't random. It's calculated. By not chasing the ball desperately, he keeps his composure. And when that one chance comes, and it always comes, he's ready. One perfect run, one clinical finish, and suddenly the entire stadium explodes. And those teammates who ignored him? They can't ignore the scoreboard. But here's the twist. Ronaldo isn't just playing the game. He's playing the psychology of the game. When the team overlooks him, he doesn't fight for attention. He lets them underestimate him. Because the moment they think, he's quiet today, maybe he's not a threat, that's when he strikes hardest. Now think about the discipline that takes. To control your ego, to resist the urge to prove a point immediately. That's rare. And that's why Ronaldo is different. He knows football is 90 minutes long. He doesn't need 90 minutes of attention. He needs 1 second of perfection. And this isn't just theory. It's history. Look at some of his most iconic goals. They don't always come when he's dominating the game from start to finish. They come in moments. Moments when defenders relax for just a split second, thinking he's out of the play. And then, out of nowhere, boom, the net shakes, and Ronaldo is running to the corner flag, arms wide, soaking in the roar of the crowd. So the next time you see Ronaldo standing quiet, almost invisible, remember this. It's not that he's out of the game. It's that he's setting the trap, the silence before the storm. The calm before the chaos. That's his big trick. But hold on, there's more to this story. Because Ronaldo's ability to handle being ignored isn't just about patience. It's about preparation. It's about confidence. It's about knowing something the rest of the world doesn't. And in the next part, we're going to break down how he turns those moments of neglect into opportunities for greatness. How he transforms silence into screams of celebration. Because this isn't just football. This is chess. And Cristiano Ronaldo? He's always 5 moves ahead. So here we are. We've seen the setup. Ronaldo ignored by his own team. Passes flying everywhere except to him. The fans are restless. The commentators are puzzled. And everyone is thinking the same thing. What on earth is happening? How? Can the man who redefined goal scoring be standing there like a ghost on the pitch? But here's the real question. The one burning in your mind and mine. What's Ronaldo's big trick? How does he deal with this? How does a player who has spent 2 decades as the center of attention, the king of the spotlight, handle being treated like a backup option? Because this isn't just about football. It's about pride. It's about ego. It's about human psychology. Let's pause for a second and think. You and I, if we were in Ronaldo's boots, 5-time Ballon d'Or winner, the most followed athlete in the world, a global icon, how would we react? You're standing in front of 50,000 fans in the stadium and millions more watching from home. You make the perfect run, raise your hand for the ball, and they don't give it. Once, twice, 3 times. How long before you break? Before you start waving your arms, screaming at your teammates, or giving them that death stare. Most players, they'd explode. Because when you're ignored in a game, it feels like rejection. And rejection hurts. Now multiply that by the fact that this is Cristiano Ronaldo, a man who has built his entire career on confidence, dominance, and performance. If anyone had the right to demand the ball, it's him. But here's the twist. He doesn't. He doesn't panic. He doesn't throw tantrums. He stays calm. And that's when the magic begins. See, this is where Ronaldo separates himself from the pack. Because most players, and let's be honest, most people react when ignored. They fight for attention. They demand the spotlight back. But Ronaldo? He does something most of us would never think of. He steps back. He becomes quiet, almost invisible. And that, my friend, is the trick. Now you might be wondering, how can being invisible be a strategy? Isn't football about presence? About being everywhere, making the game revolve around you? Yes, for most players. But Ronaldo knows something they don't. The power of patience. The power of timing. The power of letting the storm pass before you strike. Think about it. The game is chaos. 22 players running, shouting, trying to control a ball that never stays. Still, most players waste energy chasing attention. Ronaldo doesn't. He conserves it. He waits. He studies. He watches every move, his teammates, his opponents, his spaces opening up. While everyone else is burning fuel, trying to make something happen, Ronaldo is a predator waiting in the shadows. And that's the psychological masterstroke. Because when the team ignores him, they think they've taken control. They think Ronaldo is out of the game. They relax. Defenders loosen their grip. The midfield stops tracking him as closely. They think he's not getting the ball anyway. And that's when Ronaldo strikes. One chance. That's all he needs. One loose ball. One perfect cross. One mistake. And the man who was invisible for 30 minutes suddenly scores the winning goal. The stadium explodes. The cameras flash. The same teammates who ignored him? They're now running to celebrate with him. And Ronaldo? He just gives that calm look, because he knew this moment was coming all along. This is the question we're really answering here. How does Ronaldo keep his mind in the game when the game seems to leave him behind? How does he avoid frustration, avoid ego traps, and turn being ignored into a weapon? Because if you look closely, this isn't just about football tactics. It's about mindset. It's about understanding human nature, both yours and everyone else's. You see, the average player, heck, the average person, ties their worth to attention. When people notice us, we feel valuable. When they ignore us, we feel small. And that's where most of us break. We chase validation. But Ronaldo? He's beyond that. He doesn't need the ball every second to feel important. He knows who he is. He knows what he can do. And that self-belief? That's the foundation of his trick. But wait, let's make something clear. This isn't about being passive. Ronaldo isn't standing there daydreaming. He's calculating. Every second of that silence is strategy. He's finding gaps, reading defenders, adjusting his runs. It's like a chess grandmaster planning 10 moves ahead while his opponent thinks he's idle. And that's why, when that one golden opportunity appears, Ronaldo doesn't just take it. He owns it. He turns a single chance into a headline. Because in football, like in life, it's not about how many times you touch the ball. It's about what you do when the ball finally comes to you. So here's where the curiosity peaks. If this is his big trick, the art of patience, the mastery of timing, how did he learn it? Was he always like this? Or did it come from years of experience, moments of frustration, and lessons learned the hard way? That's what we're diving into next, because the answer will surprise you. It's a story that goes way back, too. A boy on an island who dreamed big, faced rejection, and learned that sometimes the best move is to wait and then strike. Cristiano Ronaldo is not just a footballer. He's a strategist in motion. When others ignore him, when the ball stops coming his way, most players would react emotionally. They'd wave their arms, shout at teammates, or worse, disappear mentally from the game. But Ronaldo? He operates differently. This is where the magic begins. When the cameras catch him standing silently, hands on his hips, eyes scanning the pitch, people think he's frustrated. Commentators might even say, Ronaldo looks isolated tonight. But what they don't realize is that this is his planning phase. He's calculating like a chess grandmaster who doesn't just think one move ahead, he thinks 10. So what exactly is the trick? It starts with something simple, something anyone can understand, but almost no one applies. Discipline over emotion. Ronaldo knows that the moment you let frustration control you, the game is over mentally. Most players, when ignored by their team, let their ego take the wheel. They start forcing shots, making bad runs, and losing composure. Ronaldo doesn't. He stays calm, almost unnervingly calm, because he understands something crucial. The game will always give you one chance, one opening, one mistake from the opponent. And if you're ready, that moment changes everything. Now, let's dive deeper. What does he do during those ignored moments? He studies. Watch closely the next time he doesn't get the ball. You'll see his eyes moving, scanning defenders, analyzing space, checking the keeper's position. He's asking himself questions. Where's the gap? Which defender is tiring? Who's losing concentration? It's almost scientific. Ronaldo knows that football isn't about touching the ball every second. It's about making your touch count when it matters most. And here's the genius part. He uses invisibility as a weapon. Think about that. When teammates stop feeding him passes, opponents often relax. They think he's not in the game right now. That's when Ronaldo becomes most dangerous. Because while everyone else assumes he's gone quiet, he's actually setting a trap. You've probably seen it happen. For 30 minutes, he barely touches the ball. People on Twitter start saying, Ronaldo's finished. Pundits shake their heads. And then boom. Out of nowhere, he scores a world-class goal. That's not luck. That's design. That's patience meeting preparation. Another layer to his trick is body language control. He never lets the opposition know what he's thinking. Watch his posture. It's relaxed, almost casual. But inside, his mind is a storm of calculations. This psychological calmness serves two purposes. It keeps his focus razor-sharp, and it prevents defenders from sensing desperation. If a striker looks desperate, defenders smell blood. Ronaldo never gives them that satisfaction. And then there's the physical side of his preparation. Even when ignored, he keeps moving not randomly, but with purpose. Small adjustments, half steps, angles that open space for later. He's basically programming the defense, pulling them ever so slightly out of shape without them realizing it. So when that one perfect cross finally comes, the defenders are half a step behind, and Ronaldo is exactly where he planned to be. What's fascinating is that this mindset isn't exclusive to football. It's a life lesson. Ronaldo's trick is about turning silence into strategy. When the world ignores you, when you feel sidelined, what do most people do? They complain. They give up. They try to force recognition. Ronaldo shows another way. Use that time to prepare for your breakthrough moment. Because if you're ready when opportunity knocks, everything changes in an instant. And this isn't theory. It's history. Remember the Euro 2016 final? He got injured and couldn't play the full match. Most players would have emotionally collapsed. But Ronaldo didn't. He turned into a coach, leading his team from the sidelines. Portugal won. Why? Because he doesn't operate on ego. He operates on impact. Whether on the pitch or off it, his focus is singular. Make a difference when it matters. This trick, the ability to stay patient, composed, and deadly, is why he's still at the top, even at an age when most players retire. At 38, when many are commentating instead of competing, Ronaldo is still scoring hat-tricks. Why? Because he never wasted ignored moments. He turned them into ammunition. So the next time you see Ronaldo quiet, don't assume he's out of the game. That silence is strategy. That stillness is the calm before the storm. Because when his moment comes, and it always does, he doesn't just take it, he owns it. And the world, once again, remembers his name. Silence. That's what most people hear when they're ignored. A silence so loud, it feels like a scream inside your head. For most players, that silence is unbearable. They crack under the pressure. They start waving their arms, yelling for the ball, forcing plays they shouldn't. They let their emotions take over. And when that happens, their game collapses. But Cristiano Ronaldo? He's different. When the team ignores him, when the passes go to someone else, when the headlines start to shift, he doesn't lose himself. Instead, he stays calm. He stays focused. And that's not easy. Because think about it, Ronaldo isn't just another player. He's one of the most famous athletes in history. Every move he makes is judged. Every mistake goes viral. If he looks frustrated for 1 second, the cameras catch it, and the critics feast on it. So why doesn't he break? Why doesn't he let the world see him sweat? The answer is simple. Ronaldo has mastered something most of us never learn: emotional control. Under fire. This isn't about pretending nothing bothers him. Of course it does. He's human. He feels the sting of being ignored. He hears the whispers. He's past his prime. He's not the star anymore. That kind of talk would crush most people. But for Ronaldo, those words are fuel. They don't train him, they drive him. And this is where it gets interesting. Most players play for approval. They play to hear the cheers, to feel wanted. They need that energy from others. But Ronaldo? He's flipped the script. He doesn't play for applause. He plays for results, for legacy, for himself. That's why being ignored doesn't shatter him. It sharpens him. Let's pause here and really think about that. How many times in life have you felt ignored? At work, in relationships, by friends? When people stop noticing you, it hurts. You start asking, what's wrong with me? You try harder to be seen. But here's the truth Ronaldo teaches. Being ignored isn't the end. It's an opportunity. An opportunity to strengthen yourself, to focus on what really matters, to prepare for the moment when the spotlight comes back, and it always does. Ronaldo's emotional discipline isn't accidental. It's built from years of setbacks and sacrifices. Remember, this is the same man who was told as a kid that he was too skinny to make it. The same man who left his family at 12 to chase a dream, crying himself to sleep in a tiny room far from home. He's been through loneliness before. He's been overlooked before. And every time he came back stronger. That's the lesson hidden in these moments of silence. When the world ignores you, you have two choices: crumble or build. Ronaldo builds. He uses the quiet to prepare. He uses the doubt as energy. And when the time comes, when the pass finally comes, he's ready to turn that silence into a roar. Now imagine the mental strength it takes to do that. Picture yourself in his shoes. Cameras flashing, millions watching, every commentator questioning your worth. Could you stay calm? Could you stay patient? Most people couldn't, but Ronaldo does, because his confidence isn't borrowed from others. It's built inside. That's why, when he finally scores after being ignored for 30 minutes, it means more than just a goal. It's a message that says, you can doubt me, you can ignore me, but you can't stop me. And that message doesn't just echo in the stadium, it echoes around the world. And here's the deeper truth. This isn't just about football, it's about life. We all have moments when we feel unseen. Times when people stop believing in us. But what if we reacted like Ronaldo? What if, instead of chasing attention, we focused on preparation? What if we turned silence into strategy? That's the emotional power Ronaldo embodies. He's not just playing a game, he's teaching a philosophy. A way of handling life's cold shoulder with grace, patience, and explosive results when the time is right. So the next time you feel ignored, remember this, it's not a curse. It's a test. A test of your strength, your focus, and your belief in yourself. Ronaldo passes that test every single time. And that's why, even when the team ignores him, he ends up being the one they all turn to in the end. Because when the noise fades, when the doubts grow louder, and when everyone expects you to break, that's the perfect moment to rise. And Ronaldo? He's made a career out of rising when it matters most. When the final whistle blows and the stadium lights begin to dim, the story of Cristiano Ronaldo is never about just 90 minutes of football. It's about every second that led up to that moment. And that's where the magic truly lies. Because, while everyone else was questioning him, while critics were filling headlines with doubts, Ronaldo was silently preparing for that one strike that would change everything. You see, here's the reality. Greatness isn't loud. It doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. And sometimes it's invisible until the very last second when it explodes into history. That's exactly what makes Ronaldo different. When you think he's out of the game, when you think the team doesn't see him, that's when he becomes most dangerous. Because ignoring Ronaldo? That's the biggest mistake you can make. Why? Because when everyone looks away, Ronaldo is writing the next chapter, and you won't even realize it until it's too late. It's easy to shine when the whole team is playing for you. When the ball comes to your feet every second, when the coach builds every tactic around your style, when the fans chant your name in unison. But what happens when all that disappears? When the team moves on? When you're no longer the golden boy of the dressing room? That's the reality Ronaldo faced more than once in his career. At Real Madrid, when younger stars started taking the spotlight. At Juventus, when tactical changes left him frustrated. Even at Manchester United, when the story flipped overnight from hero to controversy. For most players, that's the beginning of the end. Careers fade not because of age alone, but because of broken confidence. They stop believing. They stop fighting. But Ronaldo? He refuses to write that script. When the world says, "You're finished," he says, "Watch me." Here's the trick most people don't see, and maybe never will. Ronaldo's greatest weapon isn't his speed. It's not his power. It's not even his incredible ability to score goals from impossible angles. His greatest weapon is patience. In an era where everyone wants instant results, Ronaldo plays a longer game. He knows that football isn't about the first 5 minutes. It's about the last 5 seconds. That one moment where you're exactly where you need to be, while everyone else is out of position. That's what he lives for. When the ball doesn't come to him, he doesn't sulk. He doesn't throw his hands in the air. Instead, he studies. He adapts. He waits. And when that ball finally arrives, in the 89th minute, in the dying moments of a Champions League knockout, he's ready. Ready to do what only he can do. Think about some of the greatest Ronaldo moments. That bicycle kick against Juventus? It didn't happen because he demanded the ball every second. It happened because he waited for the perfect cross and timed his movement to perfection. The last-minute penalty against Atletico Madrid? Same story. Patience, precision, execution. Even in the biggest games of his life. World Cups, Champions League finals, El Clásicos. He never let frustration take control. When the team ignores him, it's not a setback. It's an opportunity. An opportunity to let them underestimate him, to let them believe he's out of the game, until he proves otherwise. And that's why no matter where he goes, no matter what league he plays in, defenders fear him. Because you can't relax for a second. You can ignore him for 89 minutes, and then he'll break your heart in the 90th. But here's something even deeper. Ronaldo's trick isn't just physical. It's psychological. He uses these moments, being ignored, being doubted, as fuel. Every pass that doesn't come his way, every coach that benches him, every fan that tweets he's finished, all of it goes into the fire, and that's what makes him unstoppable. Because while most players need external validation to perform, Ronaldo creates his own. He doesn't need the crowd to cheer to believe in himself. He doesn't need constant touches to feel important. His confidence doesn't live outside. It lives within. That's rare. That's powerful. And that's why, even at 38, he still plays like a man with something to prove. Not because he hasn't achieved enough, but because that hunger never dies. And maybe that's the real takeaway here. This isn't just about football. This is about life. How many times have you been ignored? Overlooked at work? Left out by friends? How many times have people doubted you, thinking you're finished? Ronaldo's story teaches something simple but profound. You don't need the world's approval to win. You just need the patience to wait for your moment, and the preparation to seize it when it comes. Because your silence today could be the reason for your victory tomorrow. Ignore the noise. Ignore the doubt. Keep working. Keep moving. Because when your time comes, it will feel like destiny. But in reality, it's the result of every second you spent preparing in the dark. So the next time you see Ronaldo quiet on the pitch, remember this. It's never really quiet. It's the calm before the storm. It's the silence before the roar. And when that roar comes, it shakes the world. And here's the truth. Ronaldo isn't done yet. Not by a long shot. He's already planning his next move, his next goal, his next way to shock the world. Because legends don't retire quietly. They don't fade away. They reinvent. They rise. Again and again. That's the question everyone's asking. Is it another title? Another record? Another impossible comeback? If history has taught us anything, it's this: never bet against Cristiano Ronaldo. Because every time you think the story is over, he writes another chapter. And maybe that's what makes him so fascinating. He's not just a player, he's a phenomenon. A man who turns setbacks into comebacks, who turns doubt into dominance, who turns silence into symphonies of cheers. So, what's next? We don't know yet. But one thing's for sure. It's going to be big. And when it happens, the whole world will be watching.